Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Missy and I'm really happy to have you joining me today. So today I'm going to be talking about refinishing the floors in our house. We live in a house that was built in the 1800s and we bought this house in 1991, so 31 years ago. When we bought it, we had in one half of the house it had wood floors, and the other half of the house it had these floor tiles. And so we decided that we were sure there was wood underneath these floor tiles and that we were going to pull them up, and then we were going to refinish all of the wood floors in the house, which is what we wanted to have, was wood floors. And so we did. We kind of pulled up a tile and then we saw that there was wood underneath it. Well, it ended up being plywood. So they had laid plywood down and then they had laid these tiles over the top of it. And so actually it ended up being really easy to get up because all we had to do was pull the plywood up, and then there was no glue or anything like that on the original floors that we had to deal with. But the original floors were in really, really, really bad shape. And so they had a lot of damage from beetles and I guess just wear and tear. Like, they were just in really bad shape. But we went ahead and refinished them anyway, and so we have been using those same floors that they covered no telling how long ago because they were in too bad a shape to use them that way, and we've been using them for 31 more years. So the floors in the area of our house, I always tell y'all, we live in our kitchen and our keeping area. Like, that is the part of our house that everybody gathers. It's just kind of the, I guess, the hub of our home. And so the floors in this room or this area of our home get a lot of wear. So the other downstairs floors are not bad, but in this room the floors had gotten really bad as far as the finish. There was hardly any finish left on the floors in here, and I really didn't realize how bad they looked until I got a look at them in my Christmas tour video that I did in 2020. I was watching it, and when I showed the keeping area, you can see those raw wood floors, and I thought, oh wow, they really do look pretty bad. So anyway, in my 2021 video, if you can see the floors, they're finished in that one. So I have some pictures to show you that and what it looked like. And it just was from wear. That's all it was, just people walking on it, and we had worn almost all of that finish off of our floors. So we had been wanting to refinish the floors for a while, but it was just, you know, figuring out, like, when can we do this? How are we going to do this? Are we going to have to move out of the house to do it? You know, we obviously have to move all of the furniture out of this room, and then we don't have use of the kitchen. It's just, you know, all of the stuff that kept us from doing it. So a few months back, the boys and I were going out of town for a week. So we were going to be gone, and my husband was going to be home by himself because he was still going to be going to work every day. So he got the bright idea that it would be the perfect time for him to refinish the floors. And so that's what happened, you know. And I mean, I'm really glad he did it, but I was a little sad that I wasn't going to be here when he did it. Wouldn't be able to help him. He had to do it all by himself, but hey, he wanted to do it, so he did. So instead of renting a big sander to do the floors this time, we just decided to use like a little small handheld orbital sander. And so my husband actually got on the floor on his hands and knees, and he sanded all of the areas that still had the finish on them and got the finish off. And then he did sand over the areas that didn't have a whole lot of, that didn't have the finish on them, just to kind of smooth everything out. The thing is, he did what a lot of men do sometimes, and that is he kind of jumped the gun. So we were all going out of town, and he decided that he needed to start sanding the day that we were leaving. So while we were trying to pack our clothes and get everything out of the house and get the car packed up, he was in here in the main living area where we all had to be, and he was sanding the floors. So I did get a video and some pictures of that since he had a lot of the floor sanded before we left. You can see in the video the part of the floor right in front of the bay window and the wood heater is not sanded yet, but all of the other part of the kitchen and the other part of the keeping room is all sanded before we left. So before we left, he was already at that point. And what he used was 120 grit sandpaper. Like I said, on that orbital sander, he used 120 grit paper. He sanded the floors, and then he tack clothed them, and he vacuumed them, and then he tack clothed again, and he vacuumed again before he ever started. So we used Parks Pro Finisher oil-based polyurethane professional grade for floors in a clear satin. And the finish is applied with a lamb's wool applicator, and you put it, it goes on a big long stick, and then you just apply it almost like a mop. You just mop a layer, you know, of the finish onto the floor, and you can see the difference that it makes when the finish goes on there. It's just a huge difference. And then the way with this product, you lightly sand it between each coat, and then you again tack cloth it. He chose to vacuum it after each light sanding too, because he wanted to make sure that it was really clean before he put the next coat on there. The reason that we chose satin is because I don't really like super shiny things for our house. If our house was a new house, shiny floors would probably be fine, but nothing else in our house is new and shiny. So I feel like a super shiny floor just doesn't fit with all of the other, you know, naturally old things that the house is made out of, because it is, like, everything is old. And so I like the satin finish, and that's what we had done them with before. And so that, of course, is what we did them with again. So they do make this product in, you know, a gloss. I think they have it in a matte, and then a semi-gloss and a satin. But the satin is the one that we chose to do our floors with. And so for this product, the dry time is 10 to 12 hours between coats. So his plan was that he would put a coat of finish on in the morning, and then he would go to work. And then that night, he would put another finish coat on, and then he would, you know, sleep all night, get up the next morning, put a coat on, go to work, come home, put another coat on. And that way he would get the whole thing done in just a few days, so that there would be some days for it to be drying and starting to cure while we were still gone before we all got back and would be walking on the floor all the time. So that is the way he did it. So he did get it done, 4 coats, pretty quickly by doing it that way, once in the morning, one every night. And since he was here by himself, nobody was really walking on it. He was kind of trying to stay out of this area the whole time. The dry time on this was 7 days. Like, you weren't supposed to walk on it for 7 days. So we got home a little bit before that. I forgot how many days it was. I think it maybe had a day left on the thing. And so we tried to be really careful. We just kind of tiptoed through to get into the other part of the house. But then the curing time was 14 days. And so we decided, because this room gets so much traffic, that it would be best if we gave it that whole entire 14 days before we really started using the room again. So we, that's what we did. We didn't move any furniture back onto the floor. We didn't move our stove back in. You can see the hole where our stove used to be. We didn't move it back in. We didn't move any furniture back in. So we really just kind of lived without a kitchen for 7 more days after we were home before we moved everything back in and started using the room again. But I'm really glad we did that, because we really wanted to let the floor get a nice hard finish on it because this floor just really gets a lot of traffic in this room. So that's pretty much how we did it. So you can refinish a floor and live in the house at the same time. You just have to be really careful and you know, not walk on it when you're not supposed to. Give it enough time to cure in between the coats. And you can do it without, you know, renting a big sander. Now, it would be harder if your floor still had a lot of finish left on it, but especially if you're dealing with something like we are, where the finish is almost worn off already. That makes it a lot easier too. And it just really turned out really nice. We're really enjoying the, you know, newly finished floor, and we were really glad to get this done. Whenever you live in a house like this, or any house for that matter, there's always something that needs to be done, and it's just so hard to always, you know, to find time to do all of the little things, all of the little maintenance, and then all the little projects. And we've lived in our house long enough now that we're having to redo, just like these floors, we're having to redo all of these projects and all of these things that we redid when we moved into the house. When we first got the house, we did a whole lot of, you know, remodeling on it. We tried not to change it a whole lot. We wanted to keep it as original as possible, which we did, but we're having to go back and fix some of those things now, like the floor. So that's just where we're at with our home here. I hope this video was helpful to you if you've been wanting to refinish some floors in your home and that you just have an idea of how to do it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel. And I hope to see you again next week.